Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a question today that's pretty mind-boggling. Why were prehistoric creatures so massive?
It's a question that never gets old, does it?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
We're focusing on dinosaurs today to explore what allowed, but also what limited that giant size.
Right. And I think your research will help uncover some surprising insights.
I hope so. Let's be honest, everyone's pictured a T-Rex towering over an elephant, right?
Absolutely, it's iconic.
It's completely mind-blowing. So why were some dinosaurs so unbelievably huge?
We tend to think evolution always favors bigger is better, but it's not always true.
I see, I see.
We had giant mammals too, like relatively recently.
Really?
Yeah, woolly mammoths, giant sloths, even massive wombats.
Giant wombats. Okay,
Mhm.
got my attention. But back to the dinos. What made them so colossal?
Well, first we got to bust a myth. Dinosaurs weren't cold-blooded like reptiles.
Oh, interesting. So not like lizards.
Nope. Research points to them being warm-blooded,
Yeah.
more similar to birds and mammals. That's important because warm-blooded animals, they have higher metabolisms, which affects their growth.
So warm-bloodedness was key to dinosaur size.
It played a part, for sure, but there's also this concept called Cope's rule. It suggests, over time, animals tend to evolve to be larger.
Okay, so there's a push for bigger bodies, but there have to be limits, right?
Of course, at some point, a creature just wouldn't function if it was too big.
Right, like it would just break.
Exactly. Two big things come into play here. First, just physically, how strong are the bones and muscles?
Makes sense.
On Earth, there's a limit to the weight they can handle under gravity.
So at a certain point, a dinosaur could just collapse under its own weight.
Yeah, theoretically. But even the biggest dinos, like Argentinosaurus, maybe weighing over 100 tons, they were amazingly efficient, nowhere near breaking point.
That's incredible. So if it's not just bones and muscles, what's the real issue for size?
Heat, actually. It's all about regulating internal temperature. As you get bigger, your volume increases faster than your surface area. Think of it like, a small potato cools down faster than a giant one, right?
You get it.
Same with animals.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So how did dinosaurs handle that? Especially the massive ones. Did they just sweat a lot?
Sweating's more of a mammal thing. We'll get to that.
Hmm.
Dinosaurs had air sacs.
Air sacs. Like birds.
Exactly. Those air sacs, they weren't just for breathing, they were crucial for temperature.
Interesting.
Imagine air sacs all over their bodies, even in bones. This constant airflow helped them cool down much more effectively.
So like built-in AC. No wonder they got so big.
Right. Plus, those air sacs made their breathing super efficient, essential for those huge bodies.
Wow. Okay, so dinosaurs had air sacs, but what about those giant mammals you mentioned?
Yeah.
No air sacs there, right?
Yeah.
How'd they deal with the heat?
Mammals have their own tricks. Think of elephants, the largest land animals today. Those big ears, wrinkled skin, even where their sweat glands are.
They're all about staying cool.
Exactly. They're also less active during the hottest times, finding shade or taking mud baths. It's amazing how evolution tackles the same problem in different ways.
Totally. But I'm kind of stuck on those air sacs. It's like sci-fi. How did that even evolve?
Great question, and paleontologists are still working on it. But there are clues. Fossil evidence suggests that even early dinos, like Herrerasaurus, had air pockets in their bones.
So like a basic air sac system even back then.
Seems like it. Over millions of years, those pockets might have expanded, connected, and formed the complex networks in later dinosaurs.
So gradual changes over time. Evolution's amazing, isn't it?
It really is. But going back to size, we talked about physical limits, heat. Were there other things that influenced dinosaur size? We see a huge range in the fossil record.
Yeah, good point. What else was going on?
Environments change constantly, right?
True.
Climate shifts, food availability, competition, new predators, all that affects how size evolves.
So even with cool adaptations, dinosaurs still had to deal with their environment.
Exactly, and those pressures led to some weird, fascinating evolution, like take Therizinosaurus.
Yeah, okay.
This dino had crazy long claws, but it wasn't a predator like T-Rex.
Hold on, giant claws, not a predator. What did it use them for?
Scientists think Therizinosaurus was mostly a herbivore. It used those claws to pull branches towards its mouth like a giant sloth.
Wow, a herbivore with claws like that. That's incredible. Makes you wonder what else we'll find in the fossil record.
Yeah, absolutely. Paleontology's full of surprises. But speaking of surprises, let's talk about us, humans.
All right, bring it back to us. We don't have air sacs or giant claws. What's our advantage?
Remember how mammals use sweat to regulate temperature?
Right.
Well, humans, even though we look hairless, we're pretty good at sweating.
Wait, so our lack of fur is an adaptation for sweating?
Exactly. We cool down much better without that thick fur. This probably helped us evolve, especially on the hot African savanna.
That makes sense. But doesn't being hairless make us vulnerable, like to sun and cold?
There are trade-offs, sure. We might get sunburned easier, feel the cold more, but sweating gave us stamina, endurance.
I've heard humans are amazing long-distance runners. Is that linked to sweating?
Definitely. We can run way longer than most mammals without overheating. There's even this event, the man versus horse marathon.
No way. Humans race horses. Who wins?
Believe it or not, humans have won a few times. Shows how powerful our sweating is.
That's impressive. Never thought I'd be praising sweat. Seems like a real evolutionary superpower.
It's not just running. Some think our sweating let our ancestors do persistence hunting.
Persistence hunting.
They'd chase prey until it was exhausted in the heat.
So our ancestors were relentless. It's wild how a simple thing like sweating could change our evolution so much.
It shows how small changes can lead to big advantages over time and how adaptations are linked. Sweating, running, maybe even our brains.
Wait, our sweat glands helped us get smarter.
It's a theory, but a good one. Regulating our temperature might have freed up energy for our brains to develop.
So it's not just surviving, it's boosting our brains. That's amazing.
It shows how complex evolution is. But before we get too human-focused, we gotta remember, we're just one piece of this evolutionary puzzle.
Yeah, it's humbling when you think about all the incredible creatures that came before us.
That really puts things in perspective. We get so focused on our own world.
Totally. So taking a step back, what are the big takeaways from our deep dive into prehistoric gigantism?
I think the biggest thing is there's no one answer to why creatures got so large.
Right.
It's a mix of things. Warm-bloodedness, evolutionary trends, physical limits, the environment, and those amazing adaptations like air sacs and dinos and our sweat glands.
It's amazing how different animals solve the same problem in different ways.
Absolutely. It shows that evolution isn't about being perfect. It's about finding what works in your environment.
Makes sense. But it makes you wonder, what if things were different?
Oh, yeah.
What if certain pressures never happened or different adaptations took over? Would we still have dinosaurs? Would mammals be totally different?
Those are great questions. It's fun to imagine those alternative paths. What if that asteroid never wiped out the dinosaurs?
Right.
Would they have kept evolving? Would mammals have even had a chance?
It's mind-blowing to think about.
Yeah.
But it also makes you appreciate how resilient life is, how it adapts and thrives even after huge disasters.
And who knows what's next? Those same forces that shaped dinosaurs and giant mammals, they're still working today.
True. So what could the world look like millions of years from now? Will we have new giants? Or will things favor smaller creatures?
That's the exciting part. Evolution's always changing, always surprising. That's what makes paleontology so fascinating.
It really is. We're always finding new clues, changing what we thought we knew, getting a glimpse into this vast history of life.
Exactly.
This deep dive has definitely sparked my curiosity. I want to learn more about these amazing creatures and how they evolved.
That's fantastic. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never lose that sense of wonder about nature.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this episode. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey through the world of prehistoric gigantism. Until next time, keep diving deep.